got the push rods in. Now I got me a dry erase marker. I'm gonna pretty much color in the top parts of the valves here, and I'm gonna put my rockers on, and I'm just gonna have a zero lash and put a half turn on them. But first I need to turn the motor, make sure that there's no load on it, or it's on the flattest spot on the cam before I put my half turn on after lash. Then once I got everything on here done, I'm gonna turn the motor a full turn, and I'm gonna see where my rockers travel on these two valves. So that's how I'm gonna do it. I've done with a 306, and obviously ran the motor 4 years, and they're having problems with it. So I'm gonna do the same method. Then after I get that done, we'll assemble the rest of the motor. Alright guys, so I got all my rockers on, except for the back one, because I just checked the markings on that. I did it in 2 places. I've always checked on cylinder 1. Everything looked good there. And I want to do one more just to be on the safe side. Did the back side here. You see the markings. Right there in the middle, so everything looks good there. So I'm gonna go ahead and put those roller rockers back on. Then we're gonna start adjusting them all. This is where it get kind of time consuming to do, but I mean I've done it several times, and I pretty much got it down. Way I had it done on a 306 is pretty much got it set to 0 lash. You can move the push rod. You just tighten your nut here till you can feel it's got a little bit of tension on it. You don't want to push down on the lifter, then you have to wait a few seconds for it to pump back up. So you have to do it again. I did a half turn when I had the 306 in. I'm probably gonna do the half turn again because simply it just works just fine. So some people will do an 1/8 of a turn, but I'm gonna do a full half turn. Hell, some people do a full turn, but I'm just gonna do a half turn on these. That's what I did with the 306, and I'm just gonna do it again with this motor. Just do a half turn on them and just go with it, and pretty much be done with the roll rockers. Still need to get some gaskets for the valve covers. Haven't done yet, but yeah, on the valve covers I need to figure out what I'm gonna do for need to figure out if I need to drill a hole on this side or not. They might gonna run a catch can, so I'll have oil just pretty much just leaking on the valve covers, downside of the motor. At least make it a little bit cleaner. Just need to drill a hole for this cover. They're in the car right now, but once we get these done, then we'll put the intake on. The valve covers, it'd be something probably once the motor's in the car and all. Ain't be something I'm gonna do right now, but get the the intake on, and that's almost about it for assembling the motor. But there's not much left, guys. Just gonna adjust these not lifters, but these rockers, one cylinder at a time, and go from there. Alright guys, so it's the next day. I didn't do too much for setting these rockers last night. Got pretty much everything together. So today we're going to set all these. Pretty easy to do. It's a little time consuming, but I'm going to show you how I do them. Some people say, well, there's several ways of doing this, but the way I do it is I just go one by one. The reason why is it may require a little bit more spinning on the motor, but at least I know which of these lifters don't have any, or I know they're on the flattest part on the cam. So for example, I'm starting on number 1 here, number 1 cylinder. I already know this exhaust valve just now starting to open, so I know this intake side is on the flattest part of the cam. So we're going to adjust this one first, then we're going to turn the motor, let this valve come up. Then once this intake valve starts to go down, I know the exhaust side is on the flattest part of the cam. So another way you can do setting this is go in a firing order, but I like to just go one by one, just down the line, each do one side at a time. So that's how I'm gonna do it. That's how I did on 306, and I didn't have any problems with it. So right next, like I said, I'm gonna start on number 1 here. The exhaust side is already starting to go down, so we're gonna do the intake side. We're gonna adjust it. I got everything all lubed up here. I put motor oil on everything, got a single lube on it, so I'm not worried about anything dry. Got oil down in the valley here. So got me a 5/8 wrench and Allen here to lock my lock nut in. I place my wrench so it doesn't go flying. Alright, so like I said, we're going to start off with this number 1 cylinder here. We're going to do the intake side. Like I said, it's on the flattest part of the cam. So this is more like of a feel. Try to get a better camera angle here. So you got your push rod here. It's all loose. What you want to do is you want to press down on that lifter, because you press down on a lifter and you have to wait for the lifter to pump back up. If you don't let it pump back up, you're gonna get an inaccurate what I'm trying to look for. You're not gonna set this rocker correctly. So right now I can move my lifter, my push rod. So I'm just gonna turn this nut here. Gonna go down till we get 0 lash. 0 lash is you have no movement in your rocker, and you got it barely snugs the push rod here. So I'm gonna go a little bit more, about right there, right where it starts to catch. It may take you a little while to get used to it. Alright. Alright, so right there I got 0 lash. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my nut a 180. I'm going to do a half turn. That's how I did on the other motor. I'm going to do the same thing on this motor. I'm going to do a half turn, then lock my nut down, and that would be done. Then we can do the exhaust side. So I'm going to get my wrench here, my 5/8 wrench. Be sure not to move your nut. we're going to make a full 180. Alright, so I got a full 180 or full half turn. Alright, she's locked down. Alright, so this one is set. We're going to go back and review it. You're going to have a little play it, which is perfectly fine. We're going to go do the exhaust side. Like I said, I'm going to turn the motor over. You'll see these valves move, or the lifter, the rockers move. Alright, so I'm going to turn the motor over. You want to do this nice and slow. You want to go clockwise, not counterclockwise. Alright, you see that intake compress? So that tells me that I know that the exhaust is on the flattest part of the cam. I'm going to unlock this. I've actually already set these, but I just want to show you how to do it. So I'm going to, this one's wait for a couple minutes because this hydraulic's been compressed. So we got to wait for that rocker, or not rocker, but your lifter to fully pump back up. Then we'll set this one. Alright guys, so it's been a couple minutes now. So now we're going to adjust this rocker. Just tighten this nut down. But just tighten this enough till you get 0 lash. What I mean is, you're filling your push rod here, and you just turn your lock nut till you feel just a slight bit of tightness on this lifter, or this push rod. Like I say, you don't want to push down that lifter. If you do that, we got to start over. We have to wait for that lifter to pump back up. It don't take much. Alright, so I found my spot. We're going to do half inch or a half turn as well on this. We're going to do half turn on all of these. Get it on here. I think I might have moved it. Oh, we're still good. I'm going to do a half turn. Just like that. Some guys like to do these an 1/8 turn, but I feel more confident doing a full half turn. And I mean, I don't know how much performance benefit you get out of it. You might get maybe a couple more horsepower. I really don't know. But a lot of people like to just do an 1/8 turn, mainly for race applications. But this is still going to be a street car, street motor, so we're going to do a full half turn on it, and we should be good. Alright, so this one is set. Now we can work on to the next one. Once I know these 2 valves are up, or these two valves or 2 roller, or these 2 rockers are up, I'm gonna feel for them. They're gonna have a low play. It's gonna have a slight little wiggle to them. That's perfectly normal. I just like to feel things. So another thing I want to mention too is I do have some assembly lube on my lifters, and you gotta make sure your lifters are all the way down in the valley when you're setting this, because sometimes you can set this and your lifter's not all the way down. So you want to make sure your lifter's all the way down. So another thing I want to point out too is, if you don't know which one's your intake or exhaust, this is your exhaust port. You can just go straight up. Your second one over will be your exhaust valve. So if you need to know which one's your exhaust, which one's your intake. So if you look just where, if this motor's in your car, you have your header on. Your exhaust port is right below the valve, the spring on the head. So it's just straight up. So just in case you want to know which rocker is what, I've always liked to do the valve or the intake side, then do the exhaust side.